So as you can see, there are 4 different quadrants here. And based on which one someone falls into will determine some of the ideas or advice I give them. Hey folks, Daniel Grimmett here from Dark Label Music. Thanks for joining me. If you're new, on this channel we explore the traditional and very untraditional ways that music producers, engineers, and music creators make a living. I share what I've learned over the past decade, making a full-time living in the music industry, doing everything from running music production companies and beat stores to selling sample packs, education, and business consulting. I share what worked, what didn't work, and I hope that you get a lot out of these videos. So about a month ago, I released a video called I'm Ending Music Producer Marketing. And the point of that video was to prove that if you want to build a career producing records for artists, then you don't need to become an expert internet marketer learning ads and funnels and all of these things you're hearing about on YouTube that are distracting you from actually learning the fundamentals. You can go back and watch that video to find out what those fundamentals are. I'll be honest, the tone of that video sounded a little harsh. I really leaned into that message, and in the comments there were people that agreed with me very, very strongly. That's because that's what happens when you really lean into a message. Now, I stand 100% behind the message in that video. It's all true. However, at the risk of getting meta here, there was another point that I was trying to make, which is why this is a 2-part video. For those of you that are coming up right now in the music industry, you're here at an interesting time because as you build your career, you're being marketed to more than any other generation. And what you need to know is that marketers are good at telling you exactly what you want to hear so that you will buy what they have. And I'm not a saint, I do it too. What I've learned in my experience so far is that building a business and career in the music industry is very nuanced. So even though I stand by the approach that I taught in the other video, I could also argue the other side, because there are absolutely times where things like ads and funnels and fancy websites can and may be a part of your career as a music creator. Like most things, it depends. But where this gets messy and becomes a problem is when you're trying to build a career in music but are focusing on the wrong things at the wrong time that don't really align with who you are or the pathway that you're trying to go down. That's why people end up frustrated by all of this content overwhelm. You've got to get clarity on what will make the most sense for you, and I'll show you a framework that I use with my clients to help with this. It's called Producer DNA. But before I jump into that, if you're a producer or music freelancer and you've hit a point in your career where you feel stuck and you need true one-on-one strategy, accountability, or even management services to help you unlock new opportunities and income streams in your business, potentially things that you're not even seeing, then click the link below this video. You'll fill out a few questions and I'll reply back letting you know whether or not I think I could help you. So the Producer DNA is a framework I use behind the scenes whenever I do business consulting for a music producer. And I don't even think that my clients know I use this because it's really just a tool that helps me determine a producer's personality type so I can make sure what I'm recommending to them is in alignment with who they are and their definition of what success is. It's very simple, so let's take a look here. We have 2 axes. The horizontal line goes from traditional on the left to untraditional over on the right side. What does that mean? I define untraditional as more independent, kind of outside of the box. The producer is less interested in trying to get Grammys and chart-topping records and is more interested in just building a lifestyle business where they can sell things, get clients, maybe even be an influencer, like that kind of stuff. Having as much control as possible when it comes to their income and their creative endeavors. They're less interested in kind of playing the industry game. And I define traditional as producers who are more inspired by the producers who have been around for decades, right? Like they want to get on big records, large sync projects, land a publishing deal, manager, work in the big studios, and ultimately want to establish themselves with the major labels. This is a sliding scale, so not everyone is either 100% traditional or 100% untraditional. Now let's take a look at the vertical line here. So at the bottom, we have art savvy, and at the top, we have business savvy. And again, people don't have to be completely one way or the other. Most are somewhere in between. But there are music producers who are much more entrepreneurial and are also passionate about the business side versus other producers who will just do the business stuff because it's required, but aren't necessarily energized by it. So that's what I mean, art savvy versus business savvy. So as you can see, there are 4 different quadrants here, and based on which one someone falls into will determine some of the ideas or advice I give them. For example, if a producer leans towards quadrant number 3, traditional and art savvy, then they may want to consider moving to a music city, Nashville, Los Angeles, New York, London, and start to get into the rooms with other artists, other producers, or maybe they want to focus on getting an apprenticeship under a bigger producer or getting a staff engineering position at a studio. You know, the more traditional stuff, work their way up the ladder and build a reputation. However, if a producer leans more towards quadrant number 2, business savvy and untraditional, then they may want to spend some time learning things like ads and funnels and some of the stuff I mentioned earlier in this video, some of the stuff I totally dogged on part 1 of this series. But maybe they want to be like a YouTuber, an audience first business, or sell a digital product, or build a production business where they do some of the work and farm out some of the other work to other producers. If someone falls into quadrant number 1, traditional and business savvy, then they may be entrepreneurial and want to build a business, but at the same time, we're looking at making sure that whatever they do doesn't conflict with the relationships they have or how they are perceived in the more traditional music industry. And this is a delicate balance of art and commerce. Like if someone is already a semi-established music artist that looks super hip and labels are starting to consider them, but they also want to make money with their production skills, then it can't look cheesy and it needs to be in alignment with their bigger career goals. Like for example, when I ran my production company, we were definitely doing our own thing, more entrepreneurial, but a byproduct of that is we did get some awesome projects, Billboard charting record, sync placements, label projects, things like that. So like I said, this is a sliding scale. It's not one or the other. And finally, quadrant 4, let's take a look at this one. This is generally the most rare as far as people that I work with, but this would be someone who is art savvy and also untraditional. So they want to have their own thing, but they aren't necessarily business savvy. To me, this just comes down to really creating something that's so damn cool that you don't need to be business savvy in order for it to take off. A little luck and timing is also probably going to have to be involved, and that's okay. We all know someone that falls into this quadrant and has been successful. A lot of my favorite comedians and even some of my favorite YouTubers would probably put themselves in this category. Or maybe you decide that if you're in this category, it might be best for you to team up with someone who is a quadrant 2, business savvy and untraditional, and you guys build something together. So take a look at this chart and see which quadrant you lean towards. What's your producer DNA? That'll give you some clarity and can help you determine what you should be focusing on and help you kind of tune out all the rest of the things that you don't need to be focusing on. If you're still not sure, then feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. A big caveat that I didn't go into in this video is the fact that people can become more business savvy or become more art savvy along their journey, and goals can change over time as well. Again, the main purpose of this video is that your career journey as a music producer and creator is nuanced. there is never a one-size-fits-all solution despite what's being marketed to you. Any of the pathways being marketed to you can work. And I hope this video will help you make more educated decisions when it comes to investing into your career. Make sure you go back and watch part 1 of this series if you haven't yet, especially if you want to get production clients. And if you found value here today, then please hit like on the video and subscribe for more. Peace out.